Hi guys, my name is Shikha and welcome to my channel Shikha Readster. The first month of 2018 is over. Well, it's over for quite a while now and I have read 7 books last month, which is quite a feat considering my crazy jam-packed schedule. I have read 2 classics, 2 contemporaries, 2 YA books and 1 non-fiction travelogue. It's pretty amazing, right? I'm kind of proud of myself. So without wasting any more time, let me just show you the books now. Reading wise, it was a great start. I started with a YA fantasy book and it is Caravelle, written by Stephanie Garber. This story is mainly about Scarlett Dragna, who is our protagonist. She and her sister Tella lives on this tiny island with their cruel father, who is also governor of this island. Her father wants her to get married to this guy whom she has never seen, yet she agrees to that match. But before her marriage, she wants to see this carnival kind of game which is called Caravelle. It takes place on another island and it's organized by a guy named Legend whom nobody has ever seen. With the help of a mysterious sailor, somehow she ends up being a part of this game, and what happens with her there, that's the main story. I really enjoyed this story. There is a spooky quality about this book which compels you to finish it as soon as you can. Also, there are many characters and incidents in this book which are taken from Alice in Wonderland, which I really enjoy reading. So yeah, all in all it was good, and if you like stories which are whimsical, kinda confusing and nonsensical, I think you'll enjoy this story. Ending was fantastic. There were so many twists and turns which I enjoyed so much, and I'm really looking forward to the next book, which I think is called Legendary. Only thing which goes against this story is world building. To be honest, there is no world building at all, and that is definitely a negative point, because if you're serving me a fantasy story without a world, how am I going to imagine it in here? So yeah, that's why I gave it 3.5 out of 5. Otherwise, I'm sure this story would have been 5 out of 5. Next, I read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. It was a reread. If you know me a little bit, you know that I love this book. I read it at least once a year. I have already included this book in my top 5 favorite books of all time video. You can check that out. So the story is about Jane Eyre, who is an orphan girl, and after her parents' death, her cruel relatives send her to an orphanage where she is brought up. Once she is 18, she leaves that place and then she gets a job as a governess in this creepy mansion called Thornfield Hall. Eventually, she falls in love with Mr. Rochester, who is owner of Thornfield Hall, and let me tell you, he's no Prince Charming. He's one of the most conniving, self-centered and creepy dudes of literature, yet they fall in love. But something mysterious lurks around in the dark corners of Thornfield Hall. What is it? Is it a ghost? Is it a person? What happens to Jane's love? That's the main story. It's a true feminist story for me. As you can tell, I completely love Jane Eyre. She's stark opposite of all the Austen heroines. She has no money, she has no societal status, she's not even described as a beautiful girl. She's plain simple Jane. And yet she never lets all of these things bother her. She gets her education, she gets a job, she wants to see this whole world, and she's not even afraid to fall in love. She lets no net ensnare her, which is like my favorite quote of all time. So as you can tell, I love this book. She's my role model, and it'll always be a 5 out of 5 for me. But if I keep aside my biased attitude, I can tell you that there are certain portions in the story which are dragged too much, like the portions where Mr. Rochester in his creepy way tries to find out whether Jane loves him or not. Those portions are lengthy, and that's why in reality this book is 3 out of 5. Next, I read Notes from a Spanish Diary. It's a travelogue written by Ranjita Biswas. She went to Spain alone in 2000s and wrote a book about it. Now, most books which are written about Spain, they focus on either Madrid or Barcelona, which are famous tourist attractions. But I was surprised to see that in this book, author focused on less publicized cities, for example, Andalusian cities such as Granada, Cordoba, Seville. So it was a refreshing change. Also, rather than talking about all the touristy things to do in Spain, she talks about Spain's culture. She talks about flamenco dance, Mudéjar art form, artist Francisco Goya. So it was a refreshing change, as I said. After finishing the book, I went online, I read more. So I always like those books which inspire me to read more, and it was one of those books. But author focused too much on historic information. After a point, it felt as if I'm reading a history book, which actually bogged down the narrative for me. I gave it 3 out of 5. Then I read Men and Dreams in the Dhuladhar by Kocheri Sishibu. This one is a review copy. I have already reviewed this book. You can check the link down below. So major portion of the story takes place in Dhuladhar, which is a mountain range in Himachal Pradesh. 3 people from different walks of life end up at this construction site in Dhuladhar. What happens with them and other people who live near this dam project, that's the story. I really like this book. It talks about real India with its real problems. Author has done extensive research to write this book, which is clearly visible. Apart from that, it's a lengthy descriptive book, which I really enjoyed. Only thing which goes against the story is technical details. There are so many technical details about the damn project, which I personally enjoyed. Apart from that, author has also overused swear words and regional language, which kinda disrupted flow of the story. I gave it 3.5 out of 5. Then I read Swapping Life by Jane Green. I swear I had the copy with me. I just threw it away and now I can't remember where it is. It's absolutely worthless. I would have given it negative rating on Goodreads if it was possible. I don't know how I finished it. It was just crap. That's how I can describe it. As the name suggests, two women decide to swap their lives and what happens with them after that, that's the story. And I accept it's a great concept. That's why I picked up this book. But author completely ruined this story for me. Nothing works in favor of this book. Not the plotline, not the characters, not the writing style. It's just a fluffy book with no depth at all. I don't understand why she wrote this story, truly speaking. I don't say this often, but save your time and never ever read this book. Then we have The Extinction Trials by S.M. Wilson. This one is the first book in a YA dystopian series. I have already reviewed this book on my blog. You can check that out. This book was sent to me by US-born publishing house. As the blurb claims, this book is Hunger Games meet Jurassic Park. The story is about a dystopian world where dinosaurs and humans coexist. Humans have, of course, overused their resources. Now they want to invade Dinosaur Island. So they send 100 kids on a deadly mission to find something from this island, and that's what I can tell you about the story without spoiling it for you. To be honest, I was not at all sure that author would be able to pull this off. Come on, you are taking names of two of the greatest book which I've ever read, The Hunger Games and Jurassic Park, and you're saying that it's a mix of both. So I was completely sure that she won't be able to pull it off. But I am so happy to say that I was absolutely wrong and I just love this book. First of all, the concept is fantastic. Dinosaurs coexisting with humans. I don't think apart from Flintstones anybody ever tried that. So thumbs up for that. Execution was done exceptionally well. Writing style, pace, characters, world building, everything works in favor of the story. Well, ending was a bit melodramatic, which I didn't like. But apart from that, everything is fantastic. I really like the part where author shows that like humans, dinosaurs can be good or bad too. That was refreshing. Again, a positive point. I'm eagerly waiting for the next part, which comes out in May or June this year. I gave it 4 out of 5. And the last book which I read in the month of January is Heidi by Johanna Spyri or Johanna Spyri. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I'm sorry for that. What can I say about this book? It's a classic children's tale. I should have read it years ago. But as a kid, I used to read more regional literature, so this is the first time that I read this book, and I do not regret it. I think as an adult, I was able to appreciate this story more, so no regrets there. So the story is about an orphan girl named Heidi who lives in Swiss Alps. Lots of things happen with her, and you know what, I'm not going to talk about the story because I don't want to ruin it for you. I went into this book completely blank, and I think it's one of the major reasons I enjoyed it so much. All I can say is there's a reason it's a classic, and if you're someone like me who has never read this book, please read it. You will enjoy it so much. It's a complete 5 out of 5. So these were all the books which I read in the month of January, and it's time to wrap up my wrap-up video now. You know what, wrap-up videos are tough, mainly because you have to talk about 6 to 7 books in a time frame of 10 to 15 minutes. You have to talk about plot line, positives, negatives, why you like this story, why you didn't like this story. And it's honestly nerve-wracking. That's why I love review videos, because then I get 10 to 15 minutes to talk about a single book. But it's challenging, that's why it's fun. I think that's it for today, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and please, please, please subscribe to my channel. Goodbye!